Everyone, if you've stumbled across this video, you too would like to know how to overcome analysis paralysis or how to escape analysis paralysis. You are in the right place. It's been a minute since I've made a YouTube video, and it's pretty ironic that one of the reasons is due to analysis paralysis. I am Rach, I have ADHD combined type, and yeah, let's get started before analysis paralysis stops me from actually making this video. Analysis paralysis generally refers to the inability to make a decision due to overthinking a problem or a situation. And so I see analysis paralysis as a big umbrella with many things underneath that you struggle with. So it's overthinking, coming up with hypothetical worries, procrastinating, just feeling like you don't know enough, worried about fear of failure, you dread something. Analysis paralysis, it feels gut-wrenching. You're anxious, you might get a headache because you're overthinking, that makes you feel like a failure. Imposter syndrome creeps in. Analysis paralysis can snowball to this big ball of awful feelings, which can be a massive detriment to your life and whatever you're trying to overcome. Some people can get analysis paralysis and indecision mixed up. I feel like indecisiveness lasts for a moment, whereas analysis paralysis can last for a lifetime and can actually be a barrier between what you'd like to do and what you'd like to accomplish. For example, let me give you this analogy. Imagine you are walking and there's a road ahead of you, but you stop and you ponder, you think about if it's better to run down that road, to jog, should I take another route? What if there are rattlesnakes? Should I research the geographical area? You stop and procrastinate because you aren't unable to motivate yourself, so you don't do anything anyways. Or you can sit there and overthink and nothing gets done. And then there is this endless worry, overthinking, overanalyzing, over-engineering something that could be possibly simple for you to do, but because of analysis paralysis, you are stuck and you feel trapped. Analysis paralysis stops you from committing to a decision. Does that make sense to you? Let's say the challenges or consequences that come with analysis paralysis, it can lead to missed opportunities. It could have an impact at work if you're unable to complete something in time, or you're taking too long to make a decision if you continually get bogged down in analysis paralysis. Let's take a career example. Let's say in the workplace, your manager gives you a task and it's a very big picture task. There may be so many different options to consider, so many different people that you need together, and you go down a rabbit hole researching and you're overwhelmed, right? Thinking about all of the ways it could go wrong and wondering if you're the best person for the job. And you want to make sure you get it all right and perfect. So you look at all of these additional things that you may not need because your perfectionist traits have seeped in, but all the while nothing has been done, no progress has been made, and you're running out of time and you're stressing out. But in the middle of all of that, nothing has been done. You haven't started writing because you're deep down in analysis paralysis and you can't get out of it. You just don't know what to do. Is this making sense to anyone, and is this something you've experienced? I'm going to take that as a yes. And as someone with ADHD, analysis paralysis is something that I struggle with, alongside procrastination, being easily distracted, and all of these ADHD traits which make it very difficult to manage. And so I thought I'd take the time to talk about ways to overcome analysis paralysis. Number one, making a split-second decision. Let's say you have three options laid out, and these three options are great. You'll save yourself the headache, the time, the worry if you just choose one of these options, because a lot of the times we know, go with the first one that you really like. Number two, get a second opinion. Sometimes it helps to get a suggestion or advice from somebody else because they could be looking at it from a different perspective. They can help you work towards a decision, or they could help make your decision easier. A lot of the times, especially as people with ADHD, or if you're very hyper independent or you're a perfectionist, we possibly don't like to ask for help or find it very difficult to ask for help. And if that's you, trust me, asking for help or views from other people can really help when you're in that analysis paralysis circle. If you're working on something similar to that person, you can bounce ideas. If you can talk that through with someone, you never know how that one comment, that one suggestion, that one perspective from somebody outside could really help you make the decision and escape the perils of analysis paralysis. However, the cons of this is you ask so many different people for their opinion, and then it's less helpful. Another suggestion on how to overcome analysis paralysis is knowing when to pivot. Sometimes we spend so long doing something that doesn't work for us, that we're no longer interested in, and to do ourselves no favors by spending longer on something that we don't need to, or continue to work on something that no longer fulfills us or that doesn't work. It's okay to make peace with just letting go or pivoting to do another thing, or else you'll be forcing yourself to do something which could essentially be to your detriment. And knowing when to pivot is an important thing to consider. Another suggestion on how to overcome analysis paralysis is just start. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just get things down on a page, because you'd be surprised on how much ideas start to flow through, and then you start building momentum whilst you're just writing and working at it. But you can always go back and refine it, make some changes, and when you do go back, you've actually got some ideas to work on. Also, sometimes for me, analysis paralysis and procrastination come in hand. So sometimes they're looking up things that I don't really need to look up as a way to procrastinate on the task. Does anyone get where I'm coming from? When I find myself in this scenario, I look at some coping strategies. For example, the reward system, giving yourself a reward for completing something, but the reward has to be something that motivates you, and you really have to be disciplined in order to get your brain excited to do the task. So let's say I'm watching a series on Netflix and I really can't wait to watch the next episode. I tell myself, right, if I do this task, then I will reward myself with another episode. Another thing that works for me is productive procrastination. Leaving a task or something that you were working on in order to do something else. You're still being productive even though you're procrastinating by doing something else. And I find that 9 times out of 10, when I use this productive procrastination technique, once I finish something that I like doing, I get the motivation to just continue to keep the momentum going to finish all of the other chores and tasks that I just wasn't interested in doing. Setting deadlines. As someone with ADHD, deadlines gives me something to work to. I know I end up doing things at the last minute, regretting it in that moment. When I don't have a deadline, in my mind it's not urgent. I will either forget and there isn't the motivation to work towards something. But having a deadline forces me to figure things out and to get myself out of that cycle of analysis paralysis. And if someone has marked you to do something and there isn't a deadline, I usually ask for a deadline. If I don't get a deadline, I use self-imposed deadlines, which really helps. And finally, I'd say give yourself some grace. If you're spiraling in analysis paralysis and you've had a hard week, you've had some bad news, it's okay to take a step back and rest and maybe switch off for some, moment. I feel like in the world and society we're living in, the rat race and how everything is so fast paced, we often don't take enough time for ourselves to rest. And that's why I know I find myself burning out quite quickly and quite consistently, because I'm always on the go trying to figure things out. There's always so many demands and we have so many decisions and so many options to make. And I think, resting and taking some time out for yourself, self-care is really important, because you're no good to yourself or anybody else if you're burnt out, you can't think, you're struggling with brain fog and scatterbrain because you have so much going on. So sometimes it's really important to sit, reflect and think, do I need rest? Is this something that I can postpone or reschedule or delay because of my mental health or because of how I'm feeling? I feel like when it comes to overcoming procrastination, overcoming analysis paralysis, it doesn't happen in a day. Sometimes you might be a bit more consistent than other times, and that's okay, and that's really normal. I feel like there's a pressure for us to constantly be on, constantly be productive, constantly be producing. And because I have ADHD, I know I'm going to have some good days, some bad days, and some hard days. And so even though we are looking to overcome analysis paralysis, you might overcome it in a moment or for a specific task, or there may be a task or something that happens later down the line that we find it very tricky. And so I use some of these tips that I've listed in order to help me find workarounds, because I feel like a lot of these things, aren't permanent, they're circumstantial, but these are some of the things I'm working to and I'm learning to work to when it comes to overcoming analysis paralysis. So I hope that was useful. I hope that some of these tips will help you to manage and overcome analysis paralysis in your day-to-day. I'm Rach with ADHD. I'm across all socials and our website. And I really hope we continue to strive to escape the doom and gloom that is analysis paralysis. Thanks all. Please like and subscribe. I'm almost at 1,000 subscribers. Bye.